Hey folks, Matt Easton here, Scholar Gladiatoria. So a couple of months ago I think, I did a very brief first look review of the new HEMA Shop federschwert, that is feder longswords, practice longswords, sparring longswords. And I've spoken a lot about what feders are in the past, so I won't touch on that. This is really just an update to say that this, I have a pair of these that have had heavy use throughout the club. Not only me that's been using them, but other members of the club. They've been used as club drilling weapons, they've been used as club sparring weapons against both the other one, so they've been used as a pair against the other HEMA Shop weapon, and indeed they've been used against Peter Regnier feders, longsword feders, and indeed Peter Regnier sabres as well, and they've been used against sword and buckler, and additionally they have recently both been loner weapons in the Steel federschwert tournament at Fight Camp, used, I will assure you, incredibly vigorously by various fighters. And in fact, the reason I'm holding this example and not the other one is because the other one I have to straighten the guard slightly. So the only damage that has really been sustained by either of them was that one of them got a slightly bent guard from obviously a blow came down, probably bounced off the blade and hit the crossguard, and the crossguard did its job. Much better a crossguard slightly bent than someone's hand or arm slightly bent, and it did its job, and it will prove no problem at all to straighten. I imagine it will take just a couple of hits with a hammer. So what to say about them? Essentially they've exceeded my expectations. They have proven to maintain absolute straightness. Neither of them have got bent. They're relatively stiff blades. They're actually stiffer than my Peter Regnier feder, but I actually prefer that. That makes for a nicer bind. It does make for slightly harder thrusts, of course. However, you just have to kind of deal with that. As long as you and your partner are okay with that, maybe be a little bit more cautious with the thrusts. But they've still got a good degree of flex, a safe level of flex. And as I say, they've maintained absolute straightness. Also, there's no serious burring on the edges to speak of at all, so that steel appears to be very good quality sword blade steel, well heat treated. It's kept its straightness. No serious damage to the edges, no serious damage to the shield. As I mentioned, one crossguard has got slightly bent, but it's easy enough to straighten. Of course, the crossguards are mild steel rather than the carbon steel of the heat-treated carbon steel of the blade. They both have remained absolutely tightly peened. The peen being the rivet at the end of the tang. Obviously, there's a full tang running the full length of the hilt coming out of the end of the pommel, and that's peened over. They've remained absolutely rock tight. There is no vibration. There's no vibration in the guard. The guards haven't loosened up at all. The grips haven't loosened up at all. There's no damage to the cord of the hilt, and they still ring like a bell when you hit them against each other. Okay, and in fact, just as a demonstration, I'll just hold on. Hopefully, you can. The very slightest rattle there in the guard, but it's only, there's no movement in the guard. Very slightest. The blade still rings true. So, by and large, I highly recommend these. They're great feders. I've used various Peter Regnier products over the years, as well as trying out other manufacturers' feders, such as Ensifer and such like. And I've got to say, these are pretty much as good as any I've tried. Okay, and they're available off the shelf for a very reasonable price, better than you will get from most other manufacturers, especially if you're in the UK, of course, because it's a UK company that ship these in. I believe in America they're also available, I think, through Cass Hanway. Although they're not made by Hanway, they're made by a completely separate company. They are Indian made, but yeah, they've stood up fantastically. Absolutely straight, absolutely rock solid, no notable damage to any of the parts, good hard steel, good safe product, and I haven't personally heard of or seen any of these to break or fail in any way that would worry me at all. So, the HEMA Shop federschwert, there are two slightly differing shapes, but they are essentially the same sword. They're the same length, same balance, same everything basically, just a slightly differently shaped shield, but they've got the same hilt fittings. only minor criticism, and it's not really a criticism at all, is just to say that personally, for the style of longsword that I teach and practice, they're not really proportioned for my tastes. They are very much a German longsword with a very long hilt and a relatively long blade, although the length of the blade doesn't bother me so much. For the Fiorists out there, you will probably want to find something with a shorter hilt than this. However, I would say if you're wanting to do some DIY projects, this would be a very affordable and worthwhile thing to buy if you're then going to grind the peen off, take it apart and make it into a shorter hilted weapon or do something else with it, because they're very affordable and they're available straight off the shelf from the HEMA Shop. I'll put the link below this video. Thank you very much.